Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today!
Yay!
Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Welcome back, jerks! It is episode 2 of Ian vs. Daddybones. I am Ian Daddybones, and before we kick off today's show, I want to say thank you very much to everybody that checked out episode 1 of Ian vs. Daddybones. I want to thank everybody who subscribed to the YouTube channel and who's been sharing the links and everything. I really appreciate it. Officially kicking off this project, and it looks like we're off to a wonderful start. But before I begin, I want to make 2 epic announcements. The first announcement is I have officially launched a Patreon for Ian vs. Daddybones. So if you go to patreon.com, search Ian vs. Daddybones, or check out my social media, the links are going to be there. But basically, I'm trying to make this project work. I'm trying to make this show successful in my wife's eyes, and I want to do it right. So I launched the Patreon so I can offer something to subscribers who are willing to throw me some money a month and let me be a reoccurring $1 charge. Now, with the Patreon, you subscribe for $1 a month to Ian vs. Daddybones. And what that is going to give you is a shout out and your name in the credits at the end of every episode is my way of saying thank you to y'all for throwing me $1 a month, because I truly appreciate it. It keeps this show going. It helps keep this show going. It's going to help make improvements to this show going overall. And plus, as a married husband, father of 4, I got kids, y'all. I'm trying to feed my kids, and this is one of my jobs that's going to be help feeding my kids. So with the Patreon, your $1 subscription, what that is going to do is it's going to give you your name and a shout out in the credits. It's going to give you the privilege and the right to ask questions that are going to be answered on this show once I start getting questions. I mean, you pay the $1, you have the right to ask the questions, and I'm going to answer the fucking questions. So there you go. But you're also going to get bonus content exclusively and only on the Patreon. For example, episode 1, I unboxed 40th anniversary He-Man. Now for the regular episode, that footage was time-lapsed, sped up, set to one of my shitty beats, and there you go. Now the Patreon subscribers get the footage that wasn't time-lapsed, that has me talking shit in the background. And for those of you that like ASMR and you like to get your crinkle kink on, there you go. Give me $1 a month and you can go get your little ASMR fetish on, and I'm getting money in my pocket. It's a win. You're getting off on your kink, I'm getting your money. I love it. So with that said, the Patreon is officially live at Ian vs. Daddybones. And this one's big. This one's seriously fucking big. We launched Ian vs. Daddybones last week. However, I've been thinking about this project for the past 3 months over the course of the summer, taking my time, wanting to do it right, making a list, checking it twice, and everything that goes involved with that. So I had my goals in the background for getting this off the ground. But at the same time, at San Diego Comic-Con, Mattel made a major announcement. Well, they didn't make an announcement at Comic-Con. They basically showed off something. And then for anybody that had any questions during Comic-Con, Mattel pulled a WandaVision and was like, please stand by. There's nothing to see here. Please stand by. So basically what they did was they showed off the Eternia playset. The Ultimate Battleground 3 Towers that originally came out in 1986. It came out at the tail end of the Masters of the Universe toy line in the 80s, right before the movie came out, which basically killed the entire line. And there's going to be plenty of talk about that incident as the podcast goes on. But basically, they showed off Eternia in all of its glory, basically said it was coming back, and they had no information for it. So we had to wait like a week, 2 weeks before Mattel basically said that Eternia is coming out, and they decided they're going to crowdfund it through Mattel Creations. Like there's going to be a Kickstarter, there's going to be a campaign. So basically, they showed off Eternia, had no information for it. Everybody's trying to at least get a price and want to know how much this thing is going to fucking cost. Me personally, I was expecting it to be like $300 because that's what, like, I don't know, the Masters of the Universe Classic Snake Mountain was going for years ago, and 2018 at the end of that toy line. But, like, I believe the Castle Grayskull for the Classics line was like $250. So I was thinking Eternia was going to be like $300. But when Mattel made the official announcement, they announced that the crowdfunding, the Kickstarter, was going to be $550 for Eternia. So that had me doing a lot of thinking, trying to figure out, well, how am I going to make this work? I got bills, I got kids, I got my mortgage, we're paying the house off, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this happen, but God, man, I really fucking want that thing. That's going to be the holy grail of my fucking collection. And, like, you know, I need to jump on Eternia. I have to have something epic to kickstart this new show with. And I can officially say that as of last Friday, when episode 1 of Ian vs. Daddybones was live and available to y'all, we have officially crowdfunded Eternia. I am geeked as fuck. I am super excited. 8-year-old inner me is like doing backflips right now and raise the roofs and all of that shit. But the thing with Eternia is Mattel's like, yeah, give us your money now, and it's gonna take us like a year and a half to make this before we send it out to you. So basically, they took my money now for Eternia, and now I have to wait for the next year and a half before it ships in March of 2024. So that's basically it. I got a year and a half to get excited until Eternia arrives. I have a year and a half to rebuild this brand, rebuild this show, and I can officially say as of right now I have 5 paid Patreon subscribers. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for believing in me, believing in this, and everything I'm about to do, because now I can friggin' look at my wife and be like, hey, we're officially making money on this. We're officially making money on this. And trust me, Amber's been so sick and tired of hearing me talk about Eternia for the past 3 months. She's been ready to kill me. But the fact that my wife finally gave me her blessing, like it was that moment, it was like that moment in 300, you know what I mean? Where Leonidas is standing there and he just looks over and gets that approving nod from his wife just before he boots that bitch in the pit. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I woke up. I got that nod of approval from my wife. I made that purchase, got my confirmation number, and here we go. Here we go. Officially funded Eternia, and I'm like super geeked. I'm so looking forward to this. And the fact that it's already backed, because the thing with Eternia was they need 5,000 backers just to make it a reality. And they did. They did that on week 1, and they gave a week 1 incentive bonus. All the week 1 backers get the exclusive King Grayskull figure for being a first week backer. Now me, when I purchased my Eternia, I'm not getting King Grayskull. I wasn't a first week backer. It took some time. I had to get my car fixed. I had other bills I had to take care of and responsibilities before I was able to just, you know, buy a fucking toy. So handled responsibilities, handled business, got the friggin' playset, but the thing is, like, it's just, you're part of something special with it. You know, it's like 8,000, like so far, 8,000 people have backed Eternia, because that's the way it worked. You had 5,000 backers just to make it a reality, okay? Then their next tier was 8,000 backers. If we hit 8,000 backers, we're going to unlock the Moat Monster, which is an articulated creature. This time around, it's an actual figure. But back in the day, the Moat Monster was just molded into the plastic base of what was Central Tower, this blue tower that has a lion's head on the front of it with jaws that go up and down, and it's got lion paws that like can grab and grip Skeletor or He-Man or anybody who's trying to get into Central Tower. Because that's the thing with this Eternia set. $500 for this playset. But this shit is over 3 feet tall, and it is 4 feet wide. Like, this thing's gonna be freaking huge. Like, I'm sitting at a 6-foot table right now. Take 2 feet away from the length of this table, and that's how big fucking Eternia is. Split this table in half. That's how tall Eternia is. Holy shit. And where am I gonna put it? Nowhere. It's gonna stay in the fucking box. I am not opening that shit. Are you kidding me? My kids will fucking break that shit. My fucking cat would probably knock it over. I mean, it's 3 fucking towers connected by a monorail track. Like, you gotta see it to believe it. Like, another thing, if you want to see it to believe it right now, you can go actually see it right now. I posted a video on my TikTok that I got back. There's another announcement. I got my TikTok back. So now you can follow Ian versus Daddybones, and, you know, just give me the clout. That's all I fucking want. You don't even need to watch the videos. Just give me the numbers and just heart my shit. Just give me your hearts. Just give me your hearts and share that shit. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Help get the word out. Help support the brand. And that's fucking where we are today. Those are my major announcements. And with that said, the first episode of Ian versus Daddybones, I basically explained a little bit about my love of Masters of the Universe and everything that has to do with that brand, especially with these 2 brands of toys that I'm collecting right now. Masters of the Universe Origins, Masters of the Universe Masterverse. And real quick, just to answer a question I did get asked, why don't you go and collect the vintage toys? I don't want to collect the vintage toys from my childhood right now. I mean, if it's vehicles or play sets that are in wonderful condition at a decent price, I wouldn't mind getting a Horde Slime Pit, because they don't have one today. You know what I mean? I wouldn't mind buying the Battle Ram, because they don't have one today. I wouldn't mind having a Dragon Walker just for the hell of it, because they haven't made it yet. But when it comes back down to the actual figures, like, a lot of them didn't really hold up well over the years. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the bodies are like, great, but it's like they had that rubber band crotch. So that rubber in the legs would disintegrate, deteriorate, and break over time. Like, there's people that have their childhood figures that they go back into the box and the legs are broken now because the rubber got all dried out. So it's like, basically, the original vintage line, unless your stuff is in immaculate condition, it's basically a graveyard of broken parts. Which is why I'm really all about the new stuff that's coming out, because now this is brand new and fresh, and it's not only available for my generation for nostalgic purposes, but now you got a whole generation of new kids and, you know, that are getting introduced to this brand for the first time. And I honestly just think it's the overall experience is just absolutely amazing. Being able to walk into a Target and just see He-Man toys, walk into Walmart, He-Man toys, and it's like, it just brings me fucking back. And speaking of bringing me back, let's go back to 1983. When Ian Daddybones was 3 years old, and last episode I shared some memories about He-Man, who was the first hero and good guy that I ever really met in my life. You know, learned a lot of values about being a good person through He-Man. But without good, you can't have evil. So when I got introduced to evil at the age of 3, my evil had a face, and it was a yellow fucking skull and a purple hood. And that's when I got introduced to the evil Lord of Destruction, Skeletor! Now, when I was 3 years old, like, I really thought Skeletor was absolutely amazing. Just from the shock value of seeing him for the first time and being like, what is that? You know what I mean? I was just drawn to those red eyes and that freaking face, and it's just, you know, the image forever burned in my memory. Like, automatically became one of my favorite things in life. Characters, villains. And, you know, it all started with this freaking blue-bodied, skull-faced badass. Like, you know, with Masters of the Universe, there's so many different medias. So it's like while I was meeting Skeletor for the first time, I'm getting different forms of Skeletor. Like, I got my action figure of Skeletor. He's posable, I can play with him. He comes with his Havoc staff, and he's got his half of the power sword, and, you know, he also came with the mini-comic. So now the mini-comic, able to tell some, like, you know, backstory, or give you a little mini adventure contained within these pages of, you know, this character on an adventure. And, you know, so I got mini-comic Skeletor, action figure Skeletor, and then when the Filmation cartoon came out, now he had a voice. You know what I mean? So now I get to hear Skeletor, I get to see him in animated form, and it's like, that version and incarnation of Skeletor has become such a pop culture icon, even to the point to where he lives on today with memes. You know, whether it's Skeletor laying on his side talking shit and then running back into Snake Mountain, you know, he lives on. You know, there's a rap group I got exposed to on the internet that I got to I don't want to say I discovered. I hate it when people say that. Oh yeah, I discovered this band and I've been listening to them for 5 years. I've been hearing about Corpse Circus for years, until I finally decided to check out Corpse Circus. And Corpse Circus's main dude is Skeletor. And the minute I saw Skeletor, I was drawn to, like, Skeletor. I understood it immediately. Like, I get this. I see what he's doing. And it's fucking amazing. Because the dude has a rap persona and a gimmick where he's like a hip-hop Skeletor. He's in a purple hoodie with the skull face, with the yellow skull face, with his sunglasses, and his grill, and his gold chains, and his cat lunchbox, which is his three-legged panther. You know what I mean? And totally fucking get it. Totally fucking get his shit. And it's all because he was a Masters of the Universe fan too. You know what I mean? Skeletor was his guy. And I fucking think that's great. Because when I was a kid, He-Man and Skeletor were my guys. So it's like, we're adult MOTU fans, and it's just, I see where my childhood experiences, adventures in life, love for this brand and these figures is what's causing me to do all of this right now. And it's like looking at him and his hustle and his grind and everything he's doing right now all stems from his love of Skeletor as being a kid. And I just think that's fucking fresh. And you should definitely go check out Skeletor, Evoke Often, on all major digital platforms. Check it out. It's a banging album. And we at Team Ian vs. Daddybones contributed his Kickstarter to help make that album a reality. And we got our name and a shout out in the liner notes. So that was pretty fucking fresh. So thank you, Skeletor, for making a banging ass album. But back to Skeletor. Basically, the Evil Lord of Destruction, like, there's so many different forms of Skeletor. Mini comics, action figures, I had the Filmation cartoon, you know what I mean? Alan Oppenheimer and his, you know, distinguished, unique delivery with everything he said as Skeletor, just legendary, you know what I mean? I'm 4 years old watching He-Man cartoons, and I'm getting excited because Skeletor just called He-Man a boob. You know what I mean? And it's like one of those type of things where I'm like, ha, Skeletor called He-Man a boob. And then my mom's giving me a disapproving look because you shouldn't say boob, it's a bad word. And it's like, oh, Mom. But, you know, that's the thing. Like, Skeletor to me as a kid, he was the ultimate bad guy. You know what I mean? He was the most evil person in the world. But tell me, name one bad thing Skeletor actually did. Did he kill anybody? Like, all he was trying to do was, like, get the power of Grayskull. You know what I mean? All he was trying to do was take over Eternia. The reality is, like, all he wanted was the throne. He wanted to be the King of Eternia and take the throne that's rightfully his. And that's a whole nother fucking story, because that's the thing with Skeletor. We only got so many versions of Skeletor in the 80s. Like I said, action figure Skeletor, mini comic Skeletor, Filmation Skeletor. Even in the action figures, we had variants. You had Battle Armor Skeletor. You had Dragon Blaster, Dragon Mist Skeletor. I always get that one mixed up and confused. You had Terror Claws Skeletor. And at the end of the line, you had Laser Light Skeletor, who basically was never released in the United States, from what I understand. I think he only came out in like Italy and Spain at the tail end of the Masters of the Universe line. But you had variants in the figures. And then in 1987, we got the Masters of the Universe movie. So actor Frank Langella got cast in the iconic role of Skeletor. And you can say what you want about the movie. Like, yeah, Masters of the Universe, the movie, was a major failure and a bomb. But at the end of the day, it was all we had. So even if it was the shits, it was still ours and all we had. So you can still enjoy it for what it is, even if it's not like on the scale of what Marvel Cinematic Universe's masterpieces are like today. It was still a He-Man movie. It was fresh and it was all we had at the time. And I mean, it's weird. Like, it's one of those type of things where when the TV show Friends came out and they're like, yeah, Courtney Cox is going to be part of this cast. I'm like, hey, that's the girl from the He-Man movie. That was it. You got other people like, hey, that's the girl from the Bruce Springsteen video. I don't give a fuck about that. That's the girl from the He-Man movie. But, we had different versions of Skeletor. And then at the end of the Masters of the Universe toy line, you had New Adventures Space He-Man, and I'm letting it be known right now, I despise New Adventures He-Man. I absolutely fucking hate Space He-Man. Like, my He-Man figures got stolen when I was 8. Like, serious, like, this is making my head hurt right now. Like, my He-Man toys got stolen when I was 8. Childhood fucking trauma. My parents got divorced when I was 9. Double childhood fucking drama. Then the He-Man line dies. Triple childhood drama. Now we're going into like Horseman territory where I have to throw up the 4th example. Now they reboot He-Man, change the scale of the toy line, and then they throw him in space with a whole new cast of douchebags that don't even compare to the original figures. Everything about that, oh my god, I hate that shit. I don't even think, I may talk, like if they come out with Space He-Man and Space Skeletor, New Adventures, Masterverse figures, I'm probably going to get them just to add them to the mix, but I don't really want them. They're not, like, I'm just not a fan of Space He-Man, especially that cartoon, because that, I don't know why, but that Space Skeletor, New Adventures Skeletor, the animated version of him looks like fucking Tim Curry or some shit. It's not even, that doesn't even look like Skeletor, and I hate that shit. So it's like, then Skeletor, that was the last time we saw him in a cartoon. And then the brand was dead, right? So you got over the course of the 90s, no Masters of the Universe. And then at the end of the 90s, you got Toonami on Cartoon Network. And then 2002, we get the new He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series, the Mike Young Productions, that's fondly known as 2000X. So now we have this new anime-style He-Man and a brand new Skeletor, and they just updated the looks for him, and I thought that 2000X Skeletor was absolutely amazing. And the original figure, like when they had that toy line, he had these two swords that came together. So it's like he could hold them as one double blade sword, or he could separate them, and Skeletor can have the two swords. And that's the thing too with 2000X. The 2000X line added a whole new variable and a whole new level to Skeletor. Now we got the prequel version. And by prequel version, I mean Keldor. Because in the 80s, in the mini comics, they put out a mini comic called The Search for Keldor, where it was like Prince Adam and King Randor, they were going on this quest to try and find information about Keldor, because there was like one time a year they were able to go out and do this, and then Skeletor was trying to foil their plans. Skeletor didn't want them to find out anything about Keldor. So that was like a mystery in the 80s that had people wondering, well, what did this all mean? And in the 2000X series, the very first episode focused on this. Because you basically find out from the get-go that Keldor is Skeletor. Keldor is Skeletor before he got the skull face. And they tell that story of how Skeletor got the skull face. Basically, you find out that Keldor, and this is where I will say, Masters of the Universe ain't shit but some weird hybrid of Star Wars and Thor, and I'm gonna explain this right now. Keldor is the half-brother of King Randor, Prince Adam's dad, which makes Keldor Prince Adam and He-Man's uncle. Skeletor is He-Man's uncle, okay? Keldor, was adopted by Miro, Randor's dad, who was the king at that time of Eternia. So you had the House of Miro, his sons Randor and Keldor. Keldor was the oldest. Keldor, technically, next in line for the throne. However, in Masters of the Universe, even on Eternia, there's racism. Keldor is race is called the Gar. Blue-skinned people in Eternia. There's a lot of hatred towards the Gar, discrimination against the Gar, and basically, Keldor is of Gar blood heritage, because basically Miro was a dickhead, cheated on his wife, banged and knocked up some Gar witch. Alright, check this shit out. King Miro is the father of King Randor, but Miro is also the adoptive father of Keldor. Kinda like Odin, Thor, and Loki. Alright? Then you take into consideration that Keldor is blue skin and is a member of the Gar race in Masters of the Universe. Blue skinned people that face a lot of discrimination and hate, and there's a lot of prejudice when it comes to Gars. So basically, Keldor is a Gar. The Masters of the Universe character Cyclone, he's a Gar. But basically, you got King Miro, his adoptive Gar son Keldor, and he and his wife have Randor, Keldor's younger brother, and basically some shit happens. The queen gets killed. Keldor discovers the body, but when somebody sees Keldor with the dead body of the queen, he gets framed for his mother's death. And because he's a Gar, everybody wants to put his head on a pike and let's go get the Gar! Pitchforks and torches and shit. So grab your New Balance shoes. Let's go get the Gar. But fucking Keldor was basically... He was banished by his brother, but Randor was basically like, bro, it's best for business. I know you didn't kill Mom. They think you killed Mom. This is really out of my hands, and nothing I can say can really save you. And Keldor's looking at it like, fuck you, brother. You're about to get promoted to king, and it's really my throne. I hate your fucking face. I'll be back. Deuces. And then Keldor left. And that's basically where the 2000X series picked up. Keldor and Randor having a battle. Keldor tries to get Keldor tries to get the upper hand, throws a vial of acid at his brother's face. Randor throws his arm up, and it does that really cool anime thing where his shield shows up, where it's like ding, 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 all the way around. He blocks that shit. The acid goes flying back, hits Keldor in the face, and he's like, ah, and shit. So, next thing you know, friggin' Beastman and some flying creature grab Keldor, and they bounce. And then Keldor goes to Hordak. And depending on what continuity, what storyline, because the storyline is so crazy depending on what media you're looking at Masters of the Universe from, whether it's mini comics, filmation, cartoon, movie, new adventures, classics rebooted, back of the figure bio continuity that was established. You know, either way, like, they were trying to tell a story in the 80s, but over the course of the next 40 years, now it makes sense with everything that Masters of the Universe is. So, Keldor is Skeletor, became Skeletor, and that's basically the backstory behind it. So, as you can see on the table through my journey of toy collecting the past couple of years, I've been grabbing some Masterverse Skeletor figures. I got the Masterverse Skeletor from the Revelations brand of Masterverse. I got the New Eternia Skeletor from Masterverse. Like I said with New Eternia He-Man, it's original designs based on classic concepts. So this version of Skeletor is what's being called Barbarian Skeletor, because he comes with a scimitar blade. He has a purple metal helmet. Now, I mean, it's not metal in the toy, but it's like a battle helmet instead of a cloak. And it's got like a point on the top and whatnot. And, you know, it's a more medieval looking Skeletor. And it's kind of funny because this Skeletor has a beard. He's got a beard. I don't know where the hell he's growing hair from on a skull chin, but that's beside the point. But basically, the whole reason this Skeletor has a beard, because that comes from the concept of Skeletor's original concepts, came from a character that would eventually go on to be known as Demo Man, who got tied into the continuity again, because Demo Man is supposedly the demonic entity that got paired with Keldor to create Skeletor. But Demo Man was Skeletor's, one of his original concepts and designs, where he was more giant and hulking like, with a mace, but he had this helmet and he had this long beard. So basically the Demo Man beard carried over into the New Eternia Skeletor. So, you know, they added a little detail I think's friggin' fresh. And then, I can't really see it, it's cut out by the camera, but right here for Masters of the Universe Revelations, we have the Cosmic Lord of Destruction that they decided to call Skelegod. And basically, in the 80s, you're playing with your toys, you're trying to keep Skeletor from getting the power of Grayskull, you're trying to keep Skeletor from getting the Power Sword. Basically, Skelegod is what happens when you fail in your child mission playing with your toys. If Skeletor was to get his hands on the Power Sword, and if Skeletor was able to say, by the power of Grayskull, Skelegod is what Skeletor would have transformed into had he got that power. So seeing that at the end of Masters of the Universe Revelations was pretty fresh, because that's the ultimate, oh my god, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. This is so epic with everything I love about this brand, and absolutely amazing. So I've been having a ball collecting these figures like I've been saying, and the whole point of this show is how much fun I'm having buying these toys, collecting these toys. And today, I am actually going to be unboxing the Masters of the Universe Origins 2000X Skeletor figure. Now, this figure is part of the 9th overall wave of Origins. For the 4 main figures included in this wave are the 2000 and X versions of He-Man and Skeletor. Plus you have the character Mantenna, who's a member of the Evil Horde. And you also have a brand new character named Pighead. And Pighead is the villain of a newly introduced heroic character named Sunman. And I'm going to be talking about Sunman and Pighead on a future episode of Ian vs. Daddybones, because there's a wonderful story associated with Sunman, the rulers of the Sunline, and how it fits into Masters of the Universe. So that's going to be coming down the line, but basically today, since last episode I unboxed 40th Anniversary He-Man, today I'm going to unbox 40th Anniversary Skeletor, and I might as well complete and complement the pair, because I'm also going to be unboxing 40th Anniversary He-Man, 2000X He-Man, along with 2000X Skeletor. The reason I keep saying 40th Anniversary is usually all the figures in this line, ever since they came out in 2020, they've all had these logos up in the corner that say new for the year, new for 20, new for 21, new for 22. But at the end of the 2022, everything that came out with Mattel celebrating He-Man's 40th anniversary have gotten these silver holographic Masters of the Universe 40th anniversary logo stickers, and I think they look pretty dope. And so I'm going to open these up in a moment. So for all of you watching this right now, you're going to get the time-lapse footage. For everybody who subscribes on the Patreon by throwing me $1 a month, you're going to get the uncut footage of what's about to go down. So with that said, head over to the Original Geeks Podcast. Excuse me, I said Original Geeks Podcast. I'm so used to what I've been doing. It's Ian vs. Daddybones now. Head to patreon.com, Ian vs. Daddybones. Subscribe for $1. You could see the uncut bonus footage, and you'll get a shout out and your name in the credits. Plus you get to ask questions that will be answered on the show. Here we go.
Fuck Ian Daddybones. Fuck Twin Widow, whatever the hell it is. No one gives a shit about you, Ian. Everyone hates you. Fuck off.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a banger and you're all invited. Share with friends and I'll see you later. Bring everyone, invite my haters. Throw your hands in the fucking air. Let's push a cripple down a flight of stairs. Got new shit right for your ears. My Hadouken is downright fierce. Rock out with my cock out. Jump around, I got your shout outs. I'm Daddybones, no need to panic. Talking riddles like a schizophrenic. 24/7, I got the party. Roofie roos and whoop-de-doos. Retarded fools with attitudes. Bro, everything's mixed with Bacardi. Glow stick black like tons of bubbles. Titties on bitches, nothing but trouble. Got my pills, ain't no quitter. Pop that shit, here comes my glitter. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down the fuck and get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang and you're all invited. Big kids posing, muscles flexing, trainings dressed like favorite X-Men. If there's one thing that drives me crazy, you give high fives but you fucking hate me. Might have rabies, might have herpes. Breastfeed me and you'll have to burp me. I'll be up on stage, throwing out beads, grabbing my dick and spraying my seed all over your face. That's fucking rude. Raise it up and show your boobs. Dance around and go friggin' nuts. Just b-boy stance and light your blunts. Don't be a cunt. Tuck your chain, don't start no shit. Use your brain, it's all a game. Let's play some Yahtzee. Eat Tide Pods and punch a Nazi. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down the fuck and get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang and you're all invited.
Alright, we're officially back here on Ian vs. Daddybones. Check it out. 2000X He-Man, 2000X Skeletor. You know what? Hold on a second. I just realized. If you're wondering why I got this on the table right now, this little stand, My son Owen made this in shop class at school. And he gave it to me to use as a little easel for my phone, watching videos and whatnot. But I figured I would incorporate it into Ian versus Daddybones, so that way I could use that as my Patreon exclusive second camera stand. So anything that was captured on that is exclusive for the Patreon subscribers. But here we are, 2000X He-Man and Skeletor officially unboxed, and they look absolutely incredible. I do gotta say, I think it is kind of weird seeing the 2000X figures on the Origins bodies, only because this was the 2002 2000X He-Man. So when these figures came out, like that toy line that Mattel made for that cartoon, I believe they were like 6.5-inch figures. They were taller than the OG vintage He-Man figures, but they were more lankier, skinnier, had that anime design look to them, and they were absolutely incredible. I'm not bitching or complaining whatsoever about that toy line. I mean, I have my complaints about the 2000X toy line, and it was basically, my complaint was, the only thing to me that killed the 2000X toy line was there were too many He-Man and Skeletor variants. Like, literally. There were 13 He-Man and Skeletors available for purchase. Like, it just, like, made no sense. Snake Armor He-Man, Snake Armor Skeletor, fucking Wolf Armor He-Man, Wolf Armor Skeletor. We got Samurai Stilt He-Man, we got Samurai Stilt Skeletor, and it just became a clusterfuck of seeing all these different He-Man and Skeletors warming the pegs, but there was no Man-at-Arms to be found, no Beastman, no Evelyn, no Teela, you know what I mean? Sure, like, there was Mechaneck, but that version of Mechaneck fucking sucked. That's why you could still find Mechaneck pretty much without a problem in, like, toy and vintage stores, because nobody was, like, buying Mechaneck or Stratos from that line, and, you know, that line really, it failed. I explained on the last episode all the other things that were available to teenage boys during that period of time when they were trying to relaunch Masters of the Universe and why it failed. But, you know, at the end of the day, it still has a special spot in people's hearts, especially if you're fans of the brand. I mean, I'm more of a fan of the 2000X Masters of the Universe than I was the 1990s New Adventures Space He-Man that fucking sucked. This shit at least tried to make it dope. And honestly, to a lot of us, it really was. It just really sucks it never got a chance to get its third season, because they were going to introduce the Evil Horde at some point. They introduced the Snake Men in the second season, which gave a facelift to the packaging, and overall it was just dope. But, you know, but at the end of the day, there's still another He-Man and Skeletor variant, which I feel is the only thing that will cripple these lines. Are how many versions of He-Man and Skeletors do we really fucking need? I mean, granted it ensures that there's always He-Man and Skeletors available at the store if you need to buy one for somebody. But overall, I gotta say, these are great additions to the Masters of the Universe line. If you look at it from a multiverse aspect, it makes it more fun instead of just looking at it as, well, I got 5 different He-Mans, 5 different Skeletors. Nah, just multiverse that shit. 2000X is its own thing. 2000X He-Man can stand right next to your Origins He-Man, and they're basically 2 different He-Mans from 2 different universes, and both of them are masters of their universe, and that's the only thing that fucking matters. But with that said, I'm gonna call it an episode. I've been having a lot of fun with this shit. So if you've been having a lot of fun with this shit, you enjoy what I want to do, you want to show support, head over to YouTube, subscribe, Ian vs. Daddybones. Go to Patreon, Ian vs. Daddybones. Subscribe for $1 and you get bonus content. You get your names in the credits. You get to ask questions that I'm going to answer. I got people on Facebook asking me questions. I'm sorry, I'm not answering your fucking question on this show. If you can't throw me $1 as a digital high five to show support for what I'm doing right now, then I don't have time to answer your questions. But for everybody who has subscribed, send me those questions. I will ask them on the next episode of the show. And I'm even thinking about doing a once a month Ask Me Anything exclusive for Patreon subscribers. So like I said, follow me on social media, Ian vs. Daddybones on TikTok, Ian Daddybones on Instagram. And until next time, cheers, Pete!
They call me Cockzilla and Big Dick Daddy. One hung low and third leg batty.